welcome to the Point for today, Thursday. It is the 16th day of October, and on Thursdays, as I told you, we usually entertain the members of the RGPF. So this morning with me is WPC 538 Fari. Corporal Fari. Yeah, and to her extreme right is, I usually like to say enough, but she says her surname is Plenty. Good morning, officer, and my dear friend from the Child Protection Authority. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. And, well, we're in October. So many different little groups and agencies are celebrating their month. We have Mental Awareness Month. We have Financial Education Month. We have Month of the Elderly, but it's also Child Month.
Yes.
And when we see the Child Protection Authority, we know we're protecting the children. And Corporal Fari is here from
Prosecution
Department
of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Right, nice. So, we will be talking about, everything to do with children, their protection and their violations and so forth. We're going to have a healthy conversation because I have been listening to the media around the region. And it seems that for some reason, children are being abused in different ways, whether it's verbal, physical, sexual, mental, and so forth. So this morning we want to engage in how our children are being abused, why, if possible. Let's try and diagnose why, because sometimes in most cases the abusers are themselves victims from the past and so forth, and what can be done punitively to deter people from getting into this abusive state, and for the victims, what are their rights and so forth. So ladies, this is a wonderful conversation.
Yes, it is.
Child Month. Let me start with from the Child Protection Authority. What are some of the plans? I know there will be a number of educational initiatives to sensitize the public. What are some of the plans from Child Protection Authority? What are some of the messages you'd like to get out there?
Okay. So good morning once again, and to the listening public. Yes, we emphasize Child Month, and it is with great privilege that we do so. But at Child Protection Authority, we're reimagining in terms of what Child Month looks like to child years, where it is that there are 12 months in the year, and we're not just going to, yes, we're doing a lot of activities during the October period, but we want it to be throughout the year. Raise awareness right throughout the year, because abuse don't just happen in October.
Right.
October is not the only time child abuse cases are reported. It is a month, yes, that we would have taken to dedicate and to put extra effort into to raise awareness and to educate persons and to, to do that cause. But since the month had started, and we've been here quite a few times for the year already, we're really trying to educate persons in terms of raising awareness, because we believe that is the first step, in helping combat this disease, right? Because we have been seeing the cases are alarming. We are seeing how it is affecting the children, the victims themselves, the families, the societies. We are seeing it. And if it is that we keep saying that children are the future is now.
Yeah.
And what quality of future are we leaning into if it is that we do not take the necessary steps? So just last week, in fact, Friday, we would have completed a series of parenting sessions. At first, it started where it is that we will go into the different communities and host parenting classes on the different types of abuse, raising awareness. What are some of the signs to look out for as parents and caregivers? We were doing that. And one of the things that we noticed is that a lot of the turnout was not great. Right? So yes, we have the problem, and you would think that knowing that child abuse is not a new topic and the flyers are all there, why it is that persons are not coming out. But rather than sitting and say persons are not coming out, we did a redirection. we went in the communities. So there were times person might be able to say, yes, they saw us in the house in the night. Like after 5 and 6 and 7, we were outside and we were going to the communities because these are the times that persons are usually at home from work and from school. And because we really want to meet the persons, to engage them, to raise that awareness, quite a few workers were going out in the community. As I said, Friday was the last day. We ended in Corinth. We did all the parishes. Unfortunately, we couldn't do all the villages, but we ensured that we tackled at least 3 to 4 villages in each parishes, where it is that we went educating persons about child abuse, the importance of reporting, the need for foster care. So we tried our best. We also continuing into going to different schools, primary schools, preschools, to raise sensitization to the parents, the caregivers, even the teachers as well, in terms of what is child abuse, what are some of the things that they can do. For the preschoolers, we have some person, because we had launched a book last year, Good Touch, Bad Touch, that was written by 2 workers at the Child Protection Authority, Miss Nadika Alexis and Lexan Alexander, where they would have had the story of the Joseph twins. And that is one of the books that we use as a campaign to raise awareness to the toddlers in terms of good touch, bad touch, the importance of knowing their body parts, who's allowed to touch them. So these are things that we're continuing to do. In the schools, we try to see how best we can infiltrate into the church communities and different organizations, that link to us, to bring that level of education. Because sometimes persons think, it's not happening to me. It's not happening in my home. And that's not my business, right? But once by virtue you have interaction with a child, and Grenada is so small, you could be a store owner, you could be working in the supermarket, you would have interaction with a child. So we try our best to see how we can raise awareness even to what persons may consider layman on the street, to see it is your business and how can we help to do that. So this is really and truly the direction that Child Protection Authority has been taking in terms of educating persons, because once they know, then they should be able to do something about it.
I want to come to Corporal Farin now. In the prosecution department, is it safe to say that we really do have a problem with child abuse in Grenada? Are the cases coming to court?
Yes, we do have a number of matters coming to court. It varies. It's not solely on child abuse. We have child violence with child upon child, adult upon child. So it's a mixed number of cases.
But as it relates to child abuse, we know that they come under different heading: the mental, the physical, the sexual,
even financial,
emotional. Yeah. In the child abuse setting, which one you say is most prominent?
Okay, I'll say where parents aren't abandoning kids.
Child abandonment?
Yeah, we do have some of that in court. Neglect, I will say neglect more so, because children tend to look for this form of attachment from the parents, and parents, especially those who are working, those who have several kids, it's difficult to provide for them financially.
But they should know that before.
Yes, but we can't look at that aspect. We should look at the way going forward as parents, to where CP will come into our system.
It really, from a man's perspective, right? It peeves me when I hear of. Ever so often we hear talking about a single mother. What would happen? How you become a single mother? You can't be single and become a mother. All right? I don't. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Single parents.
Yeah. And it bothers me because where are the men? Where are the fathers?
Yes.
Okay? Even if the relationship went south.
Yes.
That's another individual, but that's your offspring. So what do we need to do to get it into men's head that you're finished with the mother but not with the child?
Keep sensitizing them. Keep letting them know that this is a child that needs food, clothing, shelter, attachment, emotional attachment. Yeah. We need to secure children's mental health. We need social work is doing quite a bit, and I think CPA and legal aid at point chimes in assisting in helping people to understand that this child didn't came here on his own. You brought this child in this world, and you have a duty to protect and provide for this child. I'm also seeing some cases now where female, the children are with their fathers, and you have men going to court for child maintenance for female.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it's an even
when
scale.
I say good thing, it's bad, but it's a good sign that the male or the fathers are now realizing
They're sensitized.
that they have equal right as a woman.
Yes.
Usually you would hear a woman bring him up in court for him to mind a child in the court. Now the men are able to do it now.
They have always, it maybe probably was some sort of stigma in the past. Men,
they're coming forward with it now.
Yes, they're coming
and
forward.
That's a good sign. Now, as it relates to child abandonment, okay, I could understand why we're seeing that now, especially with single moms who, neglect children, fathers too. The parenting population the age range is low. Children are parents now, and they want to socialize. They want to continue with a promiscuous lifestyle, not realizing they have planted a seed that they have to nurture.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm thinking that maybe we should incorporate in schools at a very early age. We have health and family life education. We should sensitize the children at a young age as to, and I know they do that, but I think we should push some more into it, as to that their action have consequences and how to be, because the legal age for sex in Grenada is 16. There are children in school.
That's on the books.
Yes.
That's on the books.
There are children in school who are 16, and of course you want more for your kids. You want them to go to tertiary life education, and you want them to at least settle down in a job before they start having children, because once you have children, the financial responsibility is heavy. So we need to sensitize them more as to what could probably be the outcome of them not taking proper repercussions in dealing with sexual activities. And I'm not encouraging, bear in mind, I'm not encouraging you to go out there, you're 16, to have sexual activity. I'm just saying at an early stage we need to keep pushing. These are some of the repercussions. These are some of the things you need to be cautious and mindful of, so that you do not make it difficult for you in the future.
I like the approach from the Child Protection Authority, going out to the homes and meeting with families, because you'd find it that while you're telling the child, right, and we're saying a child 16 and under, that's the child definition.
No, the legal age is a child is a person who is under the age of 18, who has not yet attained the age of 18.
They have to make these laws a little more realistic now, because that ain't happening now. I mean, that's on the books, but legally, illegally speaking now, it's difficult to tell a child that. The approach from the Child Protection Authority of going into the communities and meeting with the families, I think it's a wonderful approach, in that you're able to impart the knowledge that you want to the child, and also the parents, all right, who themselves might need it too, because although they might have a child, they're still promiscuous, they're still unaware in some cases of the dangers that lie ahead and lurking around in the sexual periphery. But nonetheless, someone is asking contact number for the Child Protection Authority.
Okay, so we have two contact numbers. You can reach the landline at 435-0293. We have a 24-hour emergency line, that is 533-6990.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. From Child Protection Authority's perspective, in reaching out to the communities, right? Was there a sort of pushback from families, or were you able to meet families on a whole? And in that case, we're looking at family of a mother, a father, and the children. Were you able to meet families?
Yes, we will, and that is something that we, as I said, it just ended on Friday, but it is definitely something that we are going to consider continuing to do, because when we get reports, we do our investigations, right, and our assessments. And one of the things that we've noticed when it comes to the follow-ups is that especially for the intervention, when it comes to child behavioral issues and different challenges that parents may have in terms of parenting that child, the child is a problem, so the child will need fixing. So we would have the counseling available for parents, and some of them do not go. You would have the parenting classes available, and they do not attend. Right? That's not the status quo for all parents. There are some parents that do come forward, but more so, it is alarming, because how can we then work on that child, work with that child to improve behaviors, improve attitude, reimagine their thinking patterns, hoping that they will make healthier decisions. And when they return to the home may more than likely contradict that which we were just trying to impart. So we have situations where it is, and parents do the best in some cases, the best that they know how to, right? So they sometimes, unfortunately, because of all the frustration of being single parents or just not having the capacity to effectively parent, you would meet a lot of aggression, a lot of hostile and combative attitude in that home. And then you will see the behaviors trickling along there. And then these are the parents and these are the families that you would need the family intervention, the family therapy, the counseling sessions. You know, it's not just about CPA referring you to the Ministry of Social Development for housing and seed and all of that, because we can address the physical needs, and we can try to address the physical needs. But when you come and you speak about the emotional and the psychological well-being, the capacity of actually being a human being, it starts with the mind, and it continues with that mind. So if the mindset is not shifted, then the cycle continues, and we will try at times to have the parents in the sessions, and as I said, they do not come. And that is why we would have made that approach into going with the community. And we would have had the opportunity. Of course, we would meet some persons that basically say they're not interested. And sometimes we can enjoy that, because we now have the opportunity now to let us have that conversation, because we're not going up here and say, oh, we're from CPA and we come to tell the experience. No, we're having a conversation. We're having a dialogue, because we're all human beings, right? These are some of the challenges that you're going through. As much as it might be frustrating and heavy for you, you are really not the only person experiencing it.
As my boss would say, Janelle, I hope she's listening. Whenever I talk to her and say, listen, these are the things that are happening, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Hey, Innocent, you're not special. That's not you alone. It's happening with everybody. Right.
And the support system makes a difference. And that is why, even though, yes, we would have, sometimes we met the combative parents during the walkthrough, but we were still able to have that conversation. Okay, I'm hearing a lot of aggression from you. Where is that coming from? And then they will start to share their experiences, and you're able to connect with them to see, okay, yes, the aggression is there, but what is it? What's behind that wall? Mm-hmm. And you're able to break through to build that connection with people.
Isn't it sometimes teary for them? They don't. Yes. Have you ever encountered people when they start bringing it down, they start crying?
We have.
Peeling off the layers?
Issues.
Yeah.
Deep-rooted issues.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because the parents, as you said, were once victims, and because they never had the support system to help them through, you have trauma cycles continuing, and trauma raising trauma and passing on trauma that they did not even acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And then these are the same parents in schools teaching, in social work, doing social work, yes. In police, doing policing. So we have the parents are all there in society, and we're trying to, it's not about blaming. We are here to help, and that is the mindset that we are trying to change. We are here to help. We are not to assign blame, because no one is immune to any issues or challenges with their children or with their family. Life happens to everyone.
Life is lifing.
Exactly. So let us come together as a community. Mm-hmm. Let us come together, and that is why we are here, to let them know that we are truly here for you. Otherwise, you would have been in our offices on desk duty or doing other things, but because we understand the need for persons to be educated, for persons to receive the help that they need, sometimes not what they want, but what they need. That is why we continue to go out in the communities. We continue to try our best to see what it is that we can do. One child at a time, one family at a time.
That's very important. We need to take a commercial break, folks. This is To The Point, and we're speaking with representatives from the RGPF. With me this morning is Corporal Faray and also my good friend Miss Plenty. We take a quick break. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere. Parents, children, if you're able to listen in, this is a very, very important conversation to have. When we go back, we take it to another level. Don't you go anywhere. Stay with us.
Yes.
Let's celebrate the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert on Sunday, November 9th from 5 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center with the best of Grenada along with the Black Prince and the Pink Panther. Our partners, Hubbard's, GBN, Grenada Paper Products, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clacks Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Brentville Credit Union, Bryden and Miners, Agents 4, Johnny Walker, Smirnoff Vodka and Campari, Renwick Thompson and Company Limited, Pierre Marcel, Hard On Plus, Gittins Healthcare, Dollar Savers Auto Parts, Rise and Shine Supermarket, Springs Food Mart, Excel Plaza, Clem Vision Eye Center, Chillaxing Cafe, Answer Coating, Victory Bar, Blue Bubba's PA Rental and Events Supply, Chateau de la Motte, Grenada, Captain Harris Apartments, Gem Holiday, Beach Resorts, Dana's City Inn, Glen Egg, Springwater, and the Grenada Trade Center. Sunday, November 9th, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center, the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Please be seated by 4 p.m. Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Grenadians, get ready to commemorate National Heroes Day on Sunday, October 19th at the former Riviera Hotel site next to Comahorn Park. Grand Dance from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The theme for this year's commemoration, honoring our legacy, inspiring our future. This National Heroes Day commemoration promises to be one to remember with a prayer and worship segment, the spoken word, and a powerful message from our special guest speaker. National Heroes Day Commemoration 2025 will also see the official sword turning on the grounds of the Riviera site, which will then be known as National Heroes and Heritage Park. Sunday, October 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. National Heroes Day Commemoration, Monrouge, St. George. See you there. This is the big one. The most anticipated event of 2025 is finally here. The 15th edition of the Wagiti Carib Super Knockout Football Championship. National Stadium, Saturday, October 18th. Kickoff, 6 p.m. sharp. Two massive opening games. Paradise FC Youth versus Hornvet FC. And Hurricanes SC Youth versus 10 EXO Legends. Then Windhead stateside. Jamaican sensation. Tentic. Grenada's finest, Rising Star, Sandam, the Soca Monarch King, Muddy, the Groovy Monarch, Golden, Shopri, Zutiman, Sakina, and the Alpha One Band. Admission main stand, $15. Bleachers, $40. Then on Monday, October 20th, more football action. Game 1, Combined Northerners versus Sweet Tours. Grenada SDFC Youths. Game 2, SAFL versus Fontenoy United. Admission Monday, just $20. 15 years of football glory and vibe. Don't hear about it. Be there.
Welcome back to the Point program this morning. I'm joined by Corporal Fabry and representing the Child Protection Authority, my good friend Mrs. Plenty. Copy from the legal perspective, right? What are the punitive measures aligned with the various forms of child abuse? Let's look at one that is creeping up popularly now. Child neglect.
Yeah. Well, in the court, really and truly, we have different arms of the law basically that protects children. You have the Child Protection Authority, you have the Juvenile Justice Act, and then you have the Criminal Code. This is what is used mostly to protect children. Now, we have these offenses, and it's not only that offense as I indicated earlier, because we do have child sexual abuse, etc., abuse against children.
I was hoping I wasn't going to hear that again.
You hear
Child sexual abuse still
because
reading? Who does that?
Offenders. Yeah, so we have that, which is also on the high. And what I would state, though, that the children, in taking matters to the court, there's a process where you deal with children. And the parents, if you neglect a child, as you were saying earlier, if you neglect a child, then you have, according to the Child Protection and Adoption Act, you have measures that are put in place to where CPA get involved. However, there are certain things when you're in the court and the child is neglected. I want to sensitize the public on that. And the child is neglected, then you as a parent will probably be brought to court to answer to some of the actions of neglecting the child. Why would a child go stealing? Imagine you do an investigation and then you find out that a child is hungry. Then you say that a parent is neglecting her job or his job to provide the basic needs for the child.
Which leads me to another question. What constitutes to the offense of child neglect? What are some of the things that,
It's not, there are different offenses. CPA will deal with the issue of the neglect. So this more like offenses stemming from neglecting of a child. They go to break people's homes. They run away, they fight because some behavior issues. You see behavioral issues forming from abandonment. So a lot of counseling takes place in the court. A lot of assessment, intervention takes place at the court level as to what would be the root of the child behaving the way he is. You see a child constantly running away from home, and I recall a case like that. The child constantly running away from home. You want to know why. Why would a child constantly be running away from home? So in the court itself, we have a lot of things. We have probation getting quite involved, especially if the offender is a juvenile, and they will be going into the homes, as the CPA officer would have stated. They go into the schools, into the community to see what is the best way to deal with this situation. There's a lot of things going on in the court. What is the best way to deal with the child? How is the best? Because we do have also parenting classes in court. We have in legal aid programs such as Man to Man.
I'm a student of that. Yeah. I'm a student of Man to Man. Tyrone and Shane fix my head. Of course.
So there, and then you have, I recall at one point we did a camp where we would have dealt with quite a number of young persons because deviant behavior stem from something. Deviant going away from what is expected socially, social norms and structure of society. So it stems from something, and you want to know how, and each case is not under, like you put everything in a box and the one solution fix. So you have to intervene, see what's the best solution for each child. And I recall from that particular camp, only 3 or 4 of them came back out of 40 something of them, because the intent is to also rehabilitate the children, to help them to be resilient, the ability, they bounce back from difficult situation to normal states of mind. We have to pay attention to a lot of parents, because a lot of them will look at it and say, okay, no, this home have a problem, this person have a problem, they're not able to take care of their child. But you at home, we have the finance, but we're pushing our child so much to the level academically, we want them to conquer all, but you have to also take into consideration the mental element of the child. So it's a lot of things that we do in the court, really and truly, to help fix situations, to help curb issues with respect to children and their parents, especially when it comes to abandonment and not being able to provide for the child.
Well, I'm happy I asked that question and you explained like that, because there might be a school of thought out there where people think that once it reaches court is for jail and fees. So you have this sort of support mechanism.
Yeah.
That's good from the RGPF's perspective.
If you look at the juvenile, it's basically holistically CPA, the court itself. If you look at the Juvenile Justice Act when dealing with children who enters the system, and those are not really the victims. The victims are more protected by CPA. They do the investigation. But if you look at the Juvenile Justice Act, it's a structured set of guidelines as to how children should be treated as they enter the system. And it's mentioned probation a lot. Probation gets involved. You look at an informal setting as opposed to the formal setting. You do diversion. And in this diversion, that's where all the work begins. First, you get the child to accept they committed, and if they accept, because you can't force a child. If they of the opinion they did not do this, then you can't force them and say they do it. Then you go to the formal setting of stuff. But if it's going to the informal setting, that's where all the work and the different stakeholders get involved to help to try to break a lot of norms that should not be acceptable but are deemed acceptable.
So in essence, a lot of psychosocial work is being done there.
A lot of work is being done.
Okay. I'm sorry that, I'm trying to blindside myself with the big, but I can't believe that we still, after all the work that is being done, all the literature published, all the talk shows, that we're still seeing the ugly head of sexual molestation of children. From a child protection authority's perspective, how prevalent is that?
Too much. Too prevalent.
One is too many.
Yes, it's too prevalent, and it's saddening, because the greater concern is more so persons might think or might be at the assumption that a reduced number of reported cases mean that those issues no longer exist. But it can also mirror the fact that our society has become very complacent, because whenever we see, and Corporal Farry would have raised that, we see the deviant behaviors, we see the runaways, we see all of that, and when you look on social media and you see the comments of what one might consider to be reasonable thinking adults, it's like by virtue of your age there's supposed to be some level of reasoning or compassion or empathy.
They should be sensitive.
The sensitivity of those, it lacks it. And in all of this, the message that we really want to send, the complacency needs to stop. You would see in terms of the runaway, because that is one of the highest topics.
They're running away from home because they're being sexually abused at home also? Is that?
We can't prove that unless we follow through an investigation, because as Corpus said, it is not just it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach. When we do our investigations and we find various different things, right? And sometimes because someone might say, oh, well, this child was being abused, all of the children are being abused. Or you would see where it is that a child is saying, I just don't want this life anymore. And then persons are like, oh, don't bother with that, they're custom. So sometimes based on the feedback that might be given on social media in terms of why that child would have stated a runaway, then it becomes a general norm why all children run away. But I just want to bring to our awareness, At the end of the day, one thing for sure that is a fact in that statement is that children are running away, not adults. And the fact, the virtue of them being children, they're vulnerable. Right? They do not have the mental or emotional capacity to actually survive in that world out there. And then we should be asking the question, they're running away to go away.
Yeah, where they running
Where
from?
are they going to? And then under some of the Facebook posts, and even within our societies or within our little circles, we're saying, oh, I see this child here the other day, and did we report it? What are we doing? Because it's easy to sit and talk all day about problems, eh? We can be very skilled when it comes to addressing all the issues that exist. But what are we actually doing to curb it?
Stick a pin right there. I want in a society, in a community, right, where as parents you have your son. He might be a teenager as well, but you're noticing a female and you're presuming, feeling that she's a teenager as well, but you see her camping out with your son for days, or at hours when you're thinking that child should be home, and you do not report it. Is that an offense?
Yes, there is a charge relating to if you encourage. Right now we have one or two of these matters dealing with where parents allow minors into their home, and because they have a relationship with their sons, they allow them into the home because they have a relationship with their son, fully knowing that they are minors. Yes, you could be charged. It's
as the parents,
as the parent for
the owners of the home.
The owner, if you harbor any child or you know for any sexual activities, there's a charge under the criminal code. You have to be very cautious.
So the right thing to do in that case, even from a legal, I was hoping we didn't have to go from the legal perspective.
You can be arrested.
You can be arrested and charged. But from a moral being, all right, a parent, I will not allow my son to have an underage person at my house.
This is what is expected of every adult, a sensible thinking person out there, but we do not have that all the time, I'm saying to you. And we want to encourage you to do not allow that, the general public, because you can be charged for it. It is an offense in accordance with the law.
Okay, all right. It's sad. Folks, we need to take a commercial break. When we come back, we are going to open up the lines a bit because I know this is a very topical issue, and people, you are not on TV. We are on TV, so you can call if you want to change your voice. So you could ask. You understand, people? That's one of the key reasons why you find a lot of these abuses and so forth are not reported. There are people in communities that would be willing to talk. But sometimes they have a problem with confidentiality with some of the agencies and police and so forth, that me, Papa, I don't want me name calling people thing.
Well, yesterday I did speak a bit about that, and with respect to confidentiality, we are expected, and I'm saying the word expected,
that's the
we
point.
are expected to be confidential in accordance with the law. The law do protects you as a person who would have given a tip. For example, in the law itself, it speaks to if a person suspects that a child is being abused, then the law is saying you shall report it. Failure to do so, in certain cases, you can be also charged. A parent, especially with sexual abuse, you have to report it, or you could be fined up to $15,000.
Even if it's just a suspicion.
Yes, even if it's because the word says it is likely. That's what the law is saying. Likely to commit to be an offense. It's not saying you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's saying once you have reasonable suspicion, and for example, if for whatever reason, I'm saying this because I really want the public to hear about it. Even for example, that suspicion turns out later on the investigation to be not what it is. It's a family member who cares for that child, then you're also protected under the law. And if your name for whatever reason, somebody would have said, this person who give us the information to compromise the safety of the person, the informant, then you could be charged up to $50,000
or the person who
or 7 years in prison.
Yeah, so
you're protected. You're really protected.
So it's okay
the
to
law.
snitch.
It's okay to help create a better Grenada.
And you have the ability to report anonymously.
Yes.
You don't have to give your name, right? You can call and you can give all the information, and you don't have to give your name. And this is where it is that we come as a society where we need to stop talking, or talk less and do more action. If it is that you know for a fact that someone that you reported that matter to, you know for a fact that they breach confidentiality, then report it. Because we also have to be mindful, right? Sometimes we have the snowballing effect. I would have spoken about my issue, and all of a sudden everybody had the same issue, right? And then everybody can speak on that. And we have to be careful in that mindset, because we continue to wave the confidentiality flag that, okay, persons are not confidential. We do know in some cases those things do happen, or we assume in some cases those things happen, but have we had any cases to prove that those things actually do happen? Do we continue to try to see, okay, let us see this to the end? Because we have to understand that in me not reporting an issue, what am I doing? And the fact that there are two folds. You heard the protection of the persons who give the intel, and there is the opportunity to report anonymously. So you have the options available. Use it.
Okay. We take a commercial break. We'll be back, folks. This is To The Point. It's 20 minutes on to 10 o'clock. Don't you go anywhere.
Residents of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, have you ever wondered how you can benefit from Grenada's Citizenship by Investment program? Join the Investment Migration Agency of Grenada for the next IMA Symposium Series on October 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the Mermaid Hotel Conference Room, Carriacou. This public forum will explore how local developers and those aspiring to become developers can access new earning opportunities through the CBI program. Hear from key experts representing the Investment Migration Agency, the CBI Committee, and the Grenada Investment Development Corporation as they discuss recent regulatory changes designed to expand local participation. This is your chance to gain insight, ask questions, and discover how you can be part of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique's development story. Don't miss it. Join the conversation on October 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the Mermaid Hotel Conference Room.
Sisson's got you covered this Christmas. From ceiling to floor, from outside to inside, Sisson's is formulated to bring out our true Caribbean flair. Get 20% off Sisson's Ceiling White, Easy Clean, and Sisson's Aquaflow paints. Plus, every Sisson's purchase is an entry to win the grand prize of a 65-inch TV. Just scan the QR code, attach a picture of your receipt, and you are entered to win. Promotion runs October 1st to December 20th, 2025. Sisson's, good looks that last.
The Ministry of Agriculture is inviting all of Grenada to join in the national observance of World Food Day 2025, guided by the theme, Hand in Hand for Better Food and a Better Future. Our national celebrations will run from October 13th, culminating with the grand exhibition at the Old Trafford Playing Field, Tantine, on Friday, October 17th, 2025. Let us all unite to make this year's event the very best, connecting householders, farmers, agricultural partners, schools, and community groups. International World Food Day observance, October 16th. National World Food Day celebrations, October 13th to the 17th. Be a part of Grenada's food security drive.
Welcome back. It's To the Point and a very topical topic this morning: child abuse. I want us to not be so pessimistic. Yeah? Not only bad things happening with children. What are some of the good things that are happening with children? In your work in the field, right? You've been doing this for a while. As a matter of fact, we had your story before, all right? So we know you're progressing, all right? Every day you're conquering new heights and so forth. Are there some good stories that you can report that, okay, of cases where people had problems and you intervened, maybe other agencies like Child Protection Authority intervened, and you can see that the fruits of your labor?
Yes, there are many. And I'm happy that we're actually touching on the good, because we've had many success stories. From the investigative standpoint, we've had cases that we would have investigated and it is found to be untrue. Whenever we realize that some cases of abuse are not like real, not that the children did not disclose, but that it was unfounded, we're happy, because that's one less child that has to go through trauma. But we've also had cases where it is that abuse were found in the context of physical abuse, verbal abuse, neglect, and the family would have been supportive. The parents were willing to be worked with. They went through parenting classes, they went through the court system, received the rehabilitation. We've had cases where it is that they've had family therapy. We've had cases where it is that, we have some teenage pregnancies, and at first the disappointment, persons may lash out, but after they would have created that supportive network. We've had some of our children through residential facilities that we would have had under state's care, Child Protection Authority's care, and they were successful in graduating secondary school. They were successful in graduation from tertiary level education, secure. I think one of the highest passes to my recollection was 960 subjects. And when you see those success stories, and they would have went on in even some after secondary school, they would have felt that, okay, the secondary school education system is not working for them. We would have had the opportunity of having continuing education with new law, and we're even working along with different private tutoring programs to meet, because we want to ensure, because once a child would have received the education that they need, it's one step closer to a level of success, or to remove them from that opportunity of being in vulnerable situations where it is that they are forced to make certain decisions that they don't want to, or be placed in certain relationships that compromise their integrity and value system. So we've had those success stories. We've had situations where it is that we've entered into homes, and yes, the abuse were present, but below all of that, you had a frustrated mother. The home is too small for all of these children. Housing issues. We would have had great success in terms of persons who were able to get, good homes, bathroom and toilet under the WASH program, because we do a lot of our interventions are done through a lot of partnership with different organizations. And even sometimes, I'm very happy to say that sometimes the church communities come through. There are times that the church would have like different clothing or different food stuff, and we will go there to get for some of our clients. We've had persons from the community even donating different stuff so that persons can we're able to give some of the families, because how can you go into a home after you hear the mother say they don't have nothing to eat, then eat for the day, she has 2 children, and you still feel comfortable walking out of the home, not even offering something, and then we assist in those capacity. We have the SEED program, where it is that we refer them for vetting and assistance. We've had, even in cases of domestic violence, which is some of the hardest cases to walk through because we know Grenada is small. So when we're talking about the exit strategy, we have to be very creative in that. And that is where, we try our best to work along with the domestic violence unit, Ministry of Social Development, sometimes even the parliamentary offices assist at sometimes. Something as small as, even in some of the stores, I know some of them probably tied with us, something as small as a mattress, because you will go and you'll see that the children are sleeping on bedding, so they have different clothes that they will just spread off and be able to cushion to sleep.
This kind of thing happening in Grenada?
It does happen, and sometimes because it's not on the news, we think that those things are not happening, but social work exists for a reason. We're not living in the land of milk and honey. We have persons that are actually cannot afford to actually pay $250 some days to go to work. There are some persons, some parents that have to choose, am I going to have lunch today or are my children going to have lunch today?
Wow.
So we do have those cases, and yes, we have the school feeding program, we have those different things, but we also have to look at our society, where it is that we call it poor proud. Some people are poor proud with a pride and some of that, but based on some children being the bullying in school, we're seeing that rising. So all of those things are different barriers to why persons may actually tap into the help they need, but we do have a lot of success stories.
Let me ask this question. In your interventions, right, which of the genders you think is more in problems, the male or the female? I ask that because normally when you hear of sexual abuse, you think young girls, the girls. But I had a call on my program not so long ago of a particular place in St. George's, in the parish of St. George, but within the town of St. George's vicinity, where you have men going to prowl on young boys. Is that a problem?
Have they reported it?
Yes, they have.
Okay, well, that's great. That's the first step. I would not give to say, well, men are more prevalent or women are more prevalent, because the problems differ. And sometimes if we're using the scale, they might come up to the same sum, right? We have cases where it is that we have female perpetrators and male perpetrators. Yes, we know within our society, we do have more so reported cases where it is that men are the perpetrators, but we have had cases that the police would have investigated and the police would have done some charges in those areas as well. So it is not a case where it is that when we talk sexual abuse, it's only men that are being charged. Once the police is aware and the information is provided, I know for a fact that the investigation is done, right? One of the things that I would say though, and that is where the challenges come through, we have a lot of single mothers, but we also do have a lot of single fathers as well. And because our society is so matrifocal, and there is a more understanding, because there is a lot of us who grew up in single parent household, and we have the fathers, okay, so we went by daddy for the weekend, or we went by daddy this evening, or when daddy get paid on a Friday because he's a construction worker or fisherman, you get your little $50 or $200 and daddy feel he do the best, right? So we've had those societies coming through and the cycles of that. But one of the things that is important to note is that they both do a lot of wrong things.
Parents, you're talking? Both
parents, right? We've had cases where it is that you would believe by virtue of what society would expect a mother to be more empathetic, more compassionate, the maternal instinct would kick in that you should not abandon your child, you should put your child first. But here is daddy on the other end, begging and crying, I want my children. Daddy is coming to report to say my children are not being properly taken care of. I want the opportunity to care for my child.
We have a caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing? Good morning to your guests.
Welcome to the program.
Thanks. You know, I heard two parents was talking about the government and pay the money as yet for their child. And I was surprised that these people are waiting for the government to pay them money to take care of their child. When they were in bed with that man, they didn't think about the government. After they got a child, the government came in. I'm saying that. It's time that we get serious with these men and them. Now, I'll take a man to court for child maintenance. First of all, the court would apply to the government for help for that child. The government to make sure that that child is neglected by the father or the mother, and then grant that child, yes, assistance. But the father or the mother who is not taking care of that child, whichever parent that is not helping that child, the government should make sure that that person pay back the government. So hence that, if you don't pay, the government would apply to put you in jail. So instead we have to take government resources to take care of a child. And the father sitting on the block smoking or drinking or having fun or running woman. Or the mother seems to be doing it here every day and long thing and she ain't care about that child. We need to take these things serious with these people. So that they have to pay. Without them pay, they go in jail. Simple as that. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you. Jail them for. Someone is saying here, right? I need a number for you guys, please. I'm tired of calling the police for those people. Sometimes it's all day and night they're getting on in this house. It's like the child is the man in the house. Okay, Lord, after 2-3 in the morning, they wake me up with their cursing and domestic concerns. From the RGPF's perspective, what advice can you give to both parents and child/children in order to get a society into some semblance of normalcy where we don't have the abuse? In essence, what can the police advise us to do as adults and also as children?
I will advise from the RGPF has been doing a lot in trying to sensitize the public. But what we'll do, we'll advise parents to listen. We'll also advise children to listen, active listening. You see, a lot of the times in a family, you try to communicate. You're communicating your way, but everybody wants to be heard without listening to the other person's what they're saying. The father is saying something, the father is saying something, he wants to be heard. The wife is saying something, or the female party is saying something, she wants to be heard. They're both talking and nobody's listening. And the child is there just observing, soaking in all of this, and then not knowing how to deal with situations. He's seeing his mom and dad fight, he or she's seeing his mom and dad argue, and this is what he's growing up soaking in. We want them to listen, because if you listen, you'll be able to make change, because you see what's the problem. By listening, you see the problem. And by understanding, you try to fix the problem. You listen to the child. If you realize a child, for whatever reason, children tend to be withdrawn, it have to have something causing that. You see a difference in your child behavior. You see a difference in your child actions. The child grew up listening to all this verbal abuse, seeing and thinking it's okay.
Yeah.
In order to change all of this, you need to be better parents. We need parents to understand that parenting shapes the future of the children that will be tomorrow's generation. These are the people for tomorrow. They're going to bring our country forward. These little minds are very sharp and intelligent. What you put in, they're sponges. What you put in is what you get out. So if you really try your best, we'll have a greater future. We'll have children being able to speak to us and not being fearful of us. Tell them, like, a child should be able to go and say, Mom, I was traveling on this bus and this person touched my leg. Instead of being scared, Mommy gonna beat me. We need to be able to be there for our children.
You have to be there so that your child could call you and talk to you.
Yes, they have to have this safe space. You should create a safe space for your child.
I have this policy that as long as I am alive and my children are alive, they're always my children. And what children do, they go to daddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not only this too, there's a breakdown in society. For example, gone are the days where you have adults looking at certain things on the street and they're knowing, go home before I tell your mother. And they go home and they tell your mom, and your mom deal with the situation. I ain't saying beating, we don't condone beating anymore.
No, we don't condone beating, we just flog them, we don't beat them.
No, I don't condone that one too. So gone are the days where you have like the community. I want to speak of it because I want the community to know that we too have a role to play in how children turn out in the future. We watch them doing all kind of things, and we just gone about our business.
Because my child is not there.
Yeah, and that's selfish thinking, because later on, what if that same child end up in an environment in the same school your child is in, and that behavior wasn't dealt with at this age, but now your child have to deal with this child who is unable to be resilient, who is unable to cope with someone saying, don't touch my stuff, and the first thing they tend to do is want to hit. So it's a ripple effect, and I really want persons to note that your active involvement in helping children now will create a better tomorrow.
Before I give Miss Plenty time to close off, for my news department's purposes, how does the police respond when a report of abuse is a male against a female? So my lady home beat me up. She abused me, whether she can give me food or whatever, and I report it to the police. What's the approach the police takes?
You're a victim too, so you should be protected under both the Domestic Violence Act and both the Criminal Code. I can't speak as to what police do in station. I can speak as to what I do in the court and what is expected of the RGPF. You're a victim. You should not, of course, and there's a stigma that really needs to be broken. Of course, once you are a victim, you make a complaint to the police, and you're protected by the law just the same constitutionally, legally.
Okay. All right. I have another question, but there's a caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome. Caller, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm all right. Good to see you and your panel. My question, my answer, my everything is the committee is willing to help. You understand?
Yes.
They're willing to help, but you see, sometimes you see a child doing something wrong and you try to correct them, they just turn around and cuss you. Mind your business, you're too fast. You catch what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you see, it's not the committee don't want to help and see that child grow up right. But children cussing, parents cussing. So you see, there's where we had a breakdown.
All right, thank you very much, caller.
I think you should inform CPA of this so they could get involved, because once children are cussing, your aim is not, children are not really developed cognitively as an adult, and you may want to hold them as the same standard as adults because they say the same thing as adults. But on a different level, you have to go a bit further. Yes, you see that behavior, inform someone who you think can help, even the community pastors, etc., who could do little counseling and bring them in and talk to them, because we see in court children, for whatever reason, as you would have asked about success stories, we do have some in court where you see children after interventions, they try to breach this gap that was formed in the past, so they come back and you see they break down and you find they have issues. So you can't just be selfish and think I
facilitated that program, that psychosocial program with Legal Aid Alternatives that dealt with young men who got in problems with the law instead of treating them as adults. And when you do your investigations and so forth and you interact with the children, sometimes it's heart-wrenching when you hear some of the stories from the boys.
Yes.
You understand? When we think the girls are more susceptible to the abuse and so forth, when you listen to some of the things that parents inflict on the children, even boys, oh, your father ain't minding you, and this kind of verbal abuse. And another question for my news purposes, right? Now, how prevalent are cases of abuse against women in your jurisdiction this year and compared to last year? Do we see a rise of?
There's a lot.
Is it in comparatively to last year?
I haven't compared them, so I can't say, but I know last year was just the same. There's a lot this year and there's a lot last year. You have a lot of persons coming to court and requesting protection orders, females.
Okay. And what are the most common types of abuse being reported by women?
Right now, we'll say, if it's children, you'll say sexual abuse. For women, domestic.
Domestic violence. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's why you see we have a lot of the increase in the restraining orders. And you see the restraining orders are not, and as Corporal rightly stated, there is no difference in approach when it comes to male and female based on the law. A victim is a victim. Yes, based on our societal expectations and norm, we are culturally aware in terms of how persons would respond, right? Because at the end of the day, the persons responding to those calls are also human beings. We are trained, and the expectations are lifted in terms of what should happen. And domestic violence cases are some of the most challenging cases to work because it's a system of abuse that is embedded in that family. And often other times it's trauma just bouncing off each other. And sometimes we have to take drastic approaches from a CPA standpoint in terms of we see the cycle. We are trying our best to help. Different persons the police have been there working tirelessly over the years. Domestic violence has tried over the years. Ministry of Social Development would have exhausted their intervention. Like, we have been creative in trying to create different intervention types to see. And sometimes we have to take drastic approaches in removing the children. Because if the cycle continues, then the cycle would continue with the children. And are we going to have 3 and 4 more victims or perpetrators of abuse in the future? That's the mindset we're thinking of. So sometimes while removal is really the last option, because our goal is always to try to see how we can work with the family, right? The state is not just going to be like, okay, I want to care for people's children. No, you have your civil responsibility as parents, that the moment you become a parent, you have a right and a responsibility to care for that child. And sometimes where it is that we have to step into, it's really heart-wrenching when we have to force ourselves to remove children, because at the end of the day, we have a legal mandate to do what is in the best interest of that child. And then while persons may say, oh well, they take good care of the children, what is the good care? The physical, the exposure to all this violence. And then we wonder why it is that we're seeing child behavioral issues, why it is that an 8-year-old is so defiant, why it is that a 10-year-old is not listening to teacher, police cussing everybody, why it is that a 13 and a 14-year-old continues to run away every week. It's a ripple effect, as was stated earlier on. There is cause and effect. You do something, there is going to be consequences. So if it is that we make conscious decision on a daily basis, so let us do positive parenting, which has been the focal point of the series that we would have completed, positive parenting. We want to ensure that the parenting that we're doing, it is positive. Yeah. The intention, we have to be intentional in what we say. We do know that parents can become overwhelmed sometimes. As you said earlier on, life be life in for some of us.
Life is life.
And sometimes we have to be conscious enough to take 2 minutes. Take a step. I'll be back just now. Walk away. You have to do that as well, because you are not just telling your child or training your child just based on passing instructions, but your behaviors, the way you deal with situations, the way you respond to situations. Children basically imitate from what you do. So you have to be mindful. So if it's anything that Child Protection Authority can leave with the audience today, be intentional with your parenting. As caregivers, as community persons, be intentional. It is everyone's business. Reporting does not mean that you're crossing boundaries. No, it means that you are making a conscious decision to save a child today. Yeah. We don't want to be functioning if I coulda and I woulda. No. Let us do what we have to do, and let us do it now.
Ms. Plenty and Corporal Farry, I want to thank you all for your passionate conversation this morning. And I just wish that, communities around could embrace and step up the parenting style and methodologies, and remember that if we're shaping the future, if the children are the future, right? Do you want to be in your rocking chair or your hammock enjoying your pension money, and your life is in the hands of damaged goods? Because if you damage them now and they are not fixed, they are going to be damaged leaders. Just think about that. Ladies, thank you very much.
It's a
and
pleasure.
all the best. Continue doing that exemplary work that you've been doing. And until we meet again.
Until we meet again.
All right. Bye, folks. That's it for the program To The Point this morning. Thank you for your participation, whether it's by listening, viewing, or just calling in, or just, having us in the thought. Thank you. Until then, have a good one. This is To The Point.